Hi, everyone. I'm Verónica Rabelo. I'm visiting here from Michigan from the Psychology and Women's Studies Joint Department. And I'm going to be telling you about why language matters. So according to social mirroring theory, our sense of self is not simply a matter of how we internally feel about ourselves, but also how we feel like we're viewed by others. Similarly, the theory of the looking glass self suggests that we often think about how we're perceived by others. And so these beliefs are known as metaperceptions, since they're perceptions of perception. So how I think you view me, and it doesn't really matter if those mesh or not. What really matters is my perception, regardless of what you actually think. And so even though we're often encouraged to not care about what other people think about us, this is nearly an impossible task. And research suggests that we constantly draw upon metaperceptions, these beliefs about how we're viewed by others, in order to create our sense of self. And indeed, this serves a very important and basic human motive, to be recognized and to be viewed as human. And so in this way, we are especially motivated to seek positive metaperceptions, especially at work, where we spend most of our time. And so according to social valuing framework, employees actively interpret the meaning of how others treat them at work to gauge a sense of self-worth or sense of importance accorded to them by others. And so if we're in this room, then it's not difficult for any of us to achieve positive metaperceptions. And so although gratification is often very delayed in academia, our jobs are prestigious, whether due to our roles as teachers and researchers and writers, or institutions like being associated with HBS or University of Michigan. However, a vast sector of the workforce is employed in dirty work professions. And so dirty work is a theory from sociology to describe labor that's generally perceived as distasteful, disgusting, demeaning, degrading, whether socially, morally, or physically. So this can include jobs such as garbage collectors, sex workers, loan sharks, gamblers, prison guards, lots of different things. And so it's been theorized that the stigma associated with labor transfers on to the bodies of the people performing that labor. And so I argue that this carries really important implications for dirty workers' social mirroring and meta-perceptions, as well as social valuing and sense of self at work. So this led me to pretty basic questions. How do employees think about how others view them, and why might this matter? So to address this question, I surveyed 200 janitors at a large Midwestern university, guess which. And as part of this larger survey, I had janitors just fill in the blank. In general, people think that janitors/custodians are whatever. And so I used a basic coding scheme to essentially categorize these responses. So I won't go into ambivalent, but not surprisingly, 3/4 of the employees provided negative words, and just under 20% shared something positive. So to start on the positive note, most of these descriptors fell into the categories of demeanor and job valuing, So janitors are nice, cool, hardworking, or really important to an effective workplace. There's more variability in the negative responses, also describing demeanor, lazy, stupid, classist things like uneducated, dirty work words like gross, smelly, job devaluing, they're not important, a child could do this type of labor, and invisible, needed but not looked at, there but not there. And so I also wanted to look at what are the consequences of negative social mirroring. And so the more negative descriptors people provided, they were also more likely to report feeling devalued and even reported higher burnout. And we know from the literature that burnout is a major trigger for a host of other psychological and physiological consequences at work. And so taken together, language is one vehicle through which boundaries are crafted between good work and bad work, ultimately contributing to the devaluing of certain occupational groups and the undermining of well-being amongst personnel in these occupations. Employees in dirty work professions are very much aware of negative occupational stereotypes, which are not without consequences. Some custodians and dirty workers have successfully crafted counter-narratives to resist these negative stereotypes, but that's not enough. And I also show how social mirroring as a method can be a valuable tool to understand the prevalence and impact of metaperceptions at work, especially among stigmatized, marginalized, and devalued personnel. Thank you.